Good afternoon. Welcome to the Robertson Skinners. And basically, what I'm going to do, I was hoping that maybe I'll just hold it. I'll do like old time sakes. I'll pretend that I'm using a Nazi issue smartphone instead of a laptop, and hopefully, maybe I can clean that lens. Maybe I need some more light. Hang on. But yeah, basically, I find myself in the Robertson Skinner household, and I thought that's apt because I intend on skinning this. I think his name's Alan Robertson, the apparent vaccine health, the head Nazi. Basically, that's what I'll call him, the head Nazi of Western Australia. And this is a little video taken on the 19th of December, 2023. And let's just listen to I'll say, welcome to country, you two tourists.
Still joining, so we'll wait a minute or so. And welcome. So please.
Welcome. So you'll notice the Scottish accent, not an Australian accent. This is the Health Consumers Council of Western Australia. This is a Scottish fucking witch, a Scottish colonising fucking mass murdering witch representing the Health Consumers Council of Western Australia. I've got some Health Consumer Council. I've got some discrimination dating back 40, 50 plus years of a mental health strategy onto Scottish women in Australia, Scottish descendants in Australia. Your accent means that you're from Scotland. You don't get to come here and do this. Let's listen. The fucking hypocrisy from these absolute maggots.
As we are getting started, just a reminder, I think everybody's pretty adept with Zoom these days, but just a reminder that you can choose the view that you can see. So we are spotlighted at the moment. So
you're spotlighted, all right.
From the Health Consumers Council, and I have with me Dr. Andy Robertson.
Andy.
Do proper introductions in a second. But if you want to see everybody,
so I'm in the
computer.
I'll say I'm doing Zoom as well. I'm in the Robertson Skinner's house, and I'm going to skin this prick and fucking feed him to my dingo.
You can push the button at the top right of your Zoom screen that says View, and you can switch between gallery and speaker, even though we are spotlighted. We will be asking everybody to stay on mute during the session, just so that we have a conversation without any background noise. We have got a whole list of questions that were submitted in advance, but please do feel free to use the chat as it becomes commonplace. Feel free to introduce yourself, perhaps say where you are joining from, we will. I'm just going to check. Kieran, is there anyone else in the waiting room, or shall we?
Kieran, that's a very Irish name as well. So basically, this is an exposure of this European, United Kingdom socialist class of HR and administrative staff that have come and colonised Australia and then poisoned Australians. We're going to basically establish if there is a check that we can check her blood supply to see whether she got the vaccine and whether this prick got the fucking vaccine, because they've killed people in Australia. These are mass murdering fucking psychopaths.
Make a start.
You're welcome to make a start. They'll just come in as they join.
Fantastic.
Wait for this bit. Okay. This is my favourite bit.
Well, welcome everybody. Thank you, Andy, for taking part in this conversation today.
That's all right.
As we get started, I'd just like to take a moment and acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land.
Excuse me? Which traditional owners are you fucking talking about there, Mrs. fucking whatever your name is? Let's have a look.
And that we are variously on. Where Andy and I put our feet on the ground, that's the Wurundjeri people of the Noongar Nation. And I
Claire Mullen.
To elders past, present, and into the future. And Health Consumers Council as an organisation that's...
Who's elders? Whose elders are you talking about? What type of logic is this? What is this floating ideology? You've got a Scottish accent. You're in Australia. You're representing the Health Consumers Council. You're acknowledging the traditional. What exactly are you doing here in this? Do you understand how many generations of Scottish people are here? And they're the traditional owners in your discussion. This is like blatant, tokenistic virtue fucking socialism. So you've bypassed any commitment towards Scottish people and perhaps their mistreatment by Health Consumers Council. And you've participated in this kind of Zoom meeting fantasy fucking corporate bureaucratical vaccine rollout, lockstep, entirely around the entire world. Exactly 1 year after, God, here we go again. I'll continue. The Robertson child here is actually a bastard. That's a stepdad's adopted name, Robertson, and then passed on to the bastard child that's been abandoned 2 weeks into his life. So that this individual could, manifest some type of Nazi fucking English socialist fantasy, running around like Robinson Crusoe in the Australian wilderness while there's a Nazi Holocaust being rolled out by this prick here. Is that right? Because the actual boy's name, the line he's a part of, is King. This is a problem. All of this is a very, very, very large problem, right? That's not going to be managed with tokenistic fucking welcome to country ceremonies or anything. This is a very, very large problem, right? At the moment being maintained in this household, there is a very, very English, Scottish problem going on, right? In this thing, this whatever name, Mullen, what's her name? Claire Mullen is clearly not from around here. She's clearly a Scottish migrant, right? That's called a Viking. When Scottish migrants go to other places and kill people, that's called a Viking. She's ignoring a fucking clearly documented case of discrimination against Scottish women dating decades before any of this, continuing on, that has left me in a situation that is completely untenable, where I have to combat the global psychiatric concept and explore thousands of years of history of discrimination of our people, long before we get to any mention of Aboriginal people. This is in real time, the breakdown of this fraudulent, global, socialized, virtuous fucking cult who has just put poison in all of your fucking arms. They are useful idiots. Useful corporate goose-stepping fucking Nazis that have no autonomy, no association with anything that's going on. And the way that we're supposed to acknowledge, the way that we're supposed to just accept this is he doesn't work there anymore. This is corporate culture. I don't work at Chicken Trade anymore. This is what they do. Around the world, lockstep. It doesn't matter whether the thing was poison, but if it was, the same result would have happened. This is complete fucking dissociative breakdown of society. Just what? How far into this video are you? 2 minutes into a video. Let's listen. Let's listen further. Let's listen to the dialogue between these two war criminals.
speaks up for, or advocates for people to have the right to have a say on issues that affect them, people won't be surprised to discover that I personally was saddened by the referendum result, but
I was personally saddened by the referendum result that Aboriginals didn't have a voice to Parliament, and I represent a Scottish descendant with 160 or 150 years of pioneering Australian history, completely removed, completely fucking sidelined to hold up the token fucking gollywog babies of the Aboriginal culture that these people have just poisoned. This is a betrayal of every single historical factor that's going on Australia. Complete betrayal. Completely thrown in the bin so that we can watch a bunch of Zoom phoning in administrators cleanse the world. Cleanse the world of the virus. A bunch of like neurotic, fucking germophobic fucking lunatics cleanse the world of the virus. Lock, step, unchanging, globally fucking distributed and enforced through this fucking system. The first moment that a Zoom protocol like I'm using was tested at scale was to distribute what turns out to be, in a lot of cases, far too many to be a coincidence, to distribute a lethal injection.
We continue and to stand in solidarity with Aboriginal people and
to stand in solidarity. This is the entire thing. It's like it's Nazis couldn't. They've externalized what they broadcast. So they broadcast white supremacist, master race ideology from the masculine. That was conquered. So this is the opposite. This is they don't need to hold up the thing. They hold up their class. We are the administrative, responsible, virtuous class of socially aware and, master race administrators of this Third Reich. We know better. We do not receive feedback. We utilize this experimental broadcasting facility on its first at-scale test run to administer a lethal injection indiscriminately to the population.
Walk alongside and continue to champion opportunities for Aboriginal people to have a say on all things, but particularly health issues that affect them.
But particularly health issues that affect them, unless it's the vaccine.
And recognise that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land.
And hear that? And recognise that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land. What the fuck is going on? If I represent my Scottish portion of my thing, we are Caledonian Picts in Scotland behind Hadrian's Wall, never conquered. But we were made up of a broad distribution of people. So always was, always will be. Who is this woman representing when she says that? What culture is she representing? You're not here. You haven't even got to the stage where you've lost your Scottish accent in Australia. This is the level. This is the level of this European Union socialist fucking nonsense. They have hijacked our fucking noble history of like firm and clear conquest to then distribute this disgusting covert fucking conquest using Zoom. Using Zoom. These people weren't even like even what I've proven in my experiments in the Scale Matters concept. Zoom's included in that. You know what I mean? That's an experimental. Like I wouldn't rely on Zoom to organize, like to rehearse. Like let's get the greatest performers in the world to rehearse via Zoom a complete Shakespearean play, and then get them to then perform that without meeting each other in person. And let's see if it's any good. And then let's say, right, that's one thing. We could have tested this broadcasting network at scale like that. Now we'd have maybe a subpar Shakespeare performance, but instead we tested a global fucking lethal injection dissociated fucking like Nazi fucking party.
So welcome to, I think this might be, I don't know, number 7 or 8 of our COVID community conversations that we've been.
COVID community conversations. No. These COVID community conversations. You weren't having conversations in the community. You built a community and had controlled internal echo chamber conversations. So this COVID communist conversations community could easily be replaced there with communist. COVID communist conversations about
having since back in the day of 2020.
Since back in the day of 2020. There is a independently developed mythology that this class of administrators, in each region it has an identifiable differences, because they were just receiving faxes off the fax machine, then having their COVID communist fucking conversations about how they have the enlightened knowledge from the fax machine. And this is a preview to what is unfortunately on our doorstep towards AI. Right? AI right now is going to be discussed in the way that this wasn't. Everything is on the table. Every single perspective is going to be brought out. If you want to take the trouble to do something like I'm doing, and do it creatively in newspaper articles, in constant dialogue, and constant Zoom meetings like this for your minute, then this is the community conversation. These individuals right now, they're permitted at the back of this conversation. They're permitted to have feedback about what these things are, what my critiques are, how they've explained, how they've hijacked this place, because they've abandoned the home fire. They've abandoned Scotland. I don't know where this prick's from. Right, this is the stepfather fucking fantasy fiction tale. This is what this is. This is like the foster parent fantasy fiction. These are like the Incredibles in their mind. They're like a family, a community of well-minded, like they are more virtuous towards, they understand what we all need a lot more, because she's from Scotland. She's from socialist Scotland, and she's come here to rescue us. She's a caring mother figure, a caring auntie from Scotland, like Mrs. Doubtfire. And she's come here to stick poison in all the little Aboriginal children's arms, and all of the little Scottish descendants, and all of the little Irish descendants, and especially all of the little English descendants, until they all die.
And Health Consumers Council is an independent organisation that was established to provide a voice for people who use health services and people in the community on all aspects of health. And one of the things that we value doing is creating opportunities where people in the community and health consumers can hear directly from WA health leaders.
WA health leaders. Like this, this is a closed loop administrative bubble. It denies any single thing that isn't coming from the closed chain of command of mainstream medical. Right. So, and it's like it is an echo chamber. It is designed to give her a job, to give her a podium, to give her a prying fucking way into the invaded socialist fucking network that these UK citizens have brought to Australia. That they've, in their mind, they have cured all the ills of our past and are now operating from an absolutely impervious moral position. Not what we did, not expanding our territory under, because that's what we've always been doing, and under religious things and trying to maintain a higher level of society. No, not doing that. They've already cured themselves of all of those ills.
Many of you will know Dr. Andy Robertson. He's the WA Health Chief Health Officer.
He's the WA Health Chief Health Officer. Yeah, listen to the words. The Scottish. He's the WA Hail Chief Officer. Hail.
Who was a very familiar face to many of us for many months in the early stages of COVID.
So this COVID thing, when you understand, it's like, imagine if you go into a field and it's filled with rocks and you turn over a rock and you see all the little insects underneath it. This is what happened to these little bureaucratic holdouts, these little administrative incubation chambers that generally have nothing happening. In one moment, they were given the keys to the entire authority of human freedom in this region. They were bolstered by a global movement of that, by an astronomically large global fucking broadcasting fucking super machine. Then they were thrust into an experimental Zoom-based internet communication paradigm. And this is their 15 minutes of fame. This is what these people, every single person has that little moment. This was their moment. They were primed, fueled, prepared, and then thrust into an experimental environment to manifest their individual 15 minutes of fame. And as long as they stuck within the parameters of the script, which is get the jab, they became, in their networks, little momentary fucking celebrities. They could cast fucking doubt on this influencer class who was also having their moment of experimental global distribution and media and independent media. Right? But that wasn't allowed. There was a selective temporary agreement between this bureaucratical class having their 15 minutes of fame and the dying mainstream media having their dying fucking party. And this is what they did with it. They killed millions of people.
You thought we would provide this opportunity to give a chance for people in the community. We know that there has been media reports about this current wave of COVID. We also know that for many people, they don't feel that COVID has gone away. We do know that some people in the community may feel like that, but for many people, as evidenced by the questions that we've got submitted, don't feel, and we're very much living with COVID and adapting to COVID. We do know.
So even that language, she's trying to maintain this moment, this period. This is in 2023. So this is the 2023 was the weirdest fucking year. This is like the dying days of their control thing, right? So she's amplifying by her thing. She doesn't want the party to end. Saying, I'm getting feedback. I'm getting feedback that COVID hasn't gone away. We're learning how to live with and adapting to.
So, like I say, please do use the chat. We've got the Health Consumers Council team up.
Please do use the chat. Little supplementary notice. As long as you're confirming our delusion. Already long decreed as basically what should be redeclared as a civil war. Like as a conversational civil war.
On hand, you're monitoring the chat. Our
Consumer Council team on hand who are monitoring the chat to make sure that any undesirables, anyone who says, what this is insane, anyone, so they socially engineered and hyper curated their own confinement, their own ideological. That's called a dungeon. That's called a bunker. That's called a perspective ideological bunker that they barricaded themselves into and then used these technologies to broadcast to make sure that people were still getting injected.
Aim today, I know that this can be a subject that potentially people feel quite heightened about, and people have some real concerns, and we've captured many of them in the questions. But we do ask that we maintain a really productive and supportive environment in the chat.
That we maintain a really productive and supportive environment in the chat. This is the way that this HR, administrative class, bureaucratic class, and even when it's like, we're in the middle of a multi-dimensional, like, societal adaptation warscape that's insane. And what I noticed in UK Parliament, there's so much civilness. There's so much of this politeness, this polite gesturing. That's not where we are. This is created. We maintain a really productive and supportive environment in the chat for proponents of our ideology, for proponents that we have indoctrinated to believe, to be absolutely afraid of everyone, do whatever we say, conform to this, and that's what they're talking about. On the, at this time, incredibly new and untested communication protocol.
And so, like I say, the team will be monitoring that and sending any other questions that come through that we that come to us. But like I say, we do have a.
I will just note now, I have not ever, over thousands of things, never received any answer from anyone regarding anything. So when she says we're going to answer questions, she's answering where I can go and get a vaccine. Should I still be afraid? Should I be, and underneath that, should I be afraid of people that have opposing views, that have questions that aren't within that field?
A big set of questions to get through. So thank you to those who submitted them in advance. So Andy, over to you. I wonder, is there anything in general that you can tell us at the moment about this current wave?
So it might be good to sort of set the scene a little bit. So currently,
it might be good to sort of set the scene a little bit. What scene? Even the performative gesture of this, I do that. I know what he's doing because I do it every day.
You may be aware, we put out a surveillance report every week.
You may be aware, we put out a surveillance report every week. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this isn't going to be hard. We put out a surveillance report.
That comes out on our website. So our latest surveillance it usually comes out on a Wednesday, so the surveillance report looks back.
Even that he notes that it comes out on Wednesday. That's because they're stuck in a administrative bureaucratic cycle, weekly cycle that includes make sure you get your long weekends and your paid holiday leave and all of these things, because they're just doing a job. Remember, these people are being paid to do these jobs. They're being paid. They are under employment conditions to monitor the population. And this is the thing. This is the indicator there. On a Wednesday. It usually comes out on a Wednesday. This is system design to take these primed and prepared administrators, to reprogram them to commit genocide and just plug it into their already existing bureaucratic system, their employment contract system. On Wednesday, we do this. We get a surveillance report.
Is a little bit old, but I will give you some updated figures. But we're so in the week up to the end of December 3rd, so we'd had 501 COVID cases reported. Probably more critically, there were 54 new hospital admissions, and there was, at that stage, there was some increase compared to the previous week.
So let's just think about those numbers. 500 people confirmed COVID cases, 54 cases of hospitalization under an umbrella of constant fear and persuasion. So that's like 500. Yeah, okay, you've got COVID, you've gone to hospital. That's 50 people. You know, I've gone to an emergency room in a night and seen 50 people. Of all the other, things that go wrong with people. These numbers are incredibly low. Incredibly low. But still, they continue on the circus.
But the 7-day average of the cases had decreased by 2%. And
you'll notice as well, all of the information reading off paper, front, that's coming through, all of it, oh, fucking hell, all of it is imitating news protocol and weather protocol because that's how they were informed. You know, you should have no doubt anyone that stepped forward and said anything about COVID, they watched someone else do it. They researched how to do things. They imitated them. They got numbers stuck in front of them and they read them. You know, oh, it's partly cloudy over here, slow moving trough coming into the southwest, precipitation. Right, this taps into like hundreds of years of weather reports, you know, and more specifically, 60, 70 years of television weather reports to a primed and ready elderly population just ready to receive the news about the COVID storm. But there's only one result. There's only one strategy. It's just get another vaccine. Get another vaccine. Get another vaccine. Get another vaccine. The fact that I've been doing this non-stop and that your West Australian government decided to roll out a vaccine PR and marketing campaign that is literally be wise and immunize shows the fucking arrogance of this class. This is what they believe, that they hold the keys to the entirety of Australian and West Australian infrastructure and development. They are actively participating in the attempt to ostracize me and exile me from this island, to appease their fantasy, their Fern Gully fantasy, that they're liberating the Aboriginal people.
Intensive care units have gone up slightly. If we look at this week, and I do have access to, you know, our current admissions and inpatients, it would appear that
even I do have access.
Most of our hospitalisations peaked probably around the end of November.
Right.
It's a fairy tale. It's a fucking collective these people were all paid. They are paid money to sit, pass notes around about numbers, very small numbers, with a heightened fear, to maintain this status, to maintain this party that they all had, where they were the most important people in Western Australia. Where we lifted the rock up, we shone a torch on it, and we watched them all. You know? This is what happened.
So we've been tracking downwards for the last 2 weeks.
Right.
In hospitals, our admissions over the last 2 weeks have dropped from 126 a week to 92 per week.
Right.
And I will make the point that that's not all cases COVID.
Yes.
That is, people both who entered for COVID,
Right.
so they have severe disease, or entered for some other reason. They could have broken a leg or had a heart attack, but were discovered to have COVID when they entered. So a number of them are there. Predominantly, this remains EG5, which is known as EG5 is the subvariant.
So notice like jargon, internal fucking lingo, EG5 is a subvariant. That's constantly trying to project a closed information source, which is the largest indicator of what they're doing wrong. It's like, yeah, we know. This is a global fucking network to distribute a fear campaign towards majoritively elderly citizens. If we applied this same logic right now and we said, right now we're going to publish and create this exact campaign around alcohol abuse and substance abuse, and mainly the way that interacts with our domestic violence, these numbers would be thousands of times larger. Thousands of times larger. So thousands of times larger, and just like COVID, we are surrounded by advertising towards alcohol. We are surrounded by media and content towards this hyper-masculine, aggressive thing, and we are all recovering from this terrorist fucking campaign that these administrators attempted. But they can't do that because alcohol is a revenue source that pays for these people's wages.
We're also looking at BA 2.86. So EG5 is known as ERIS.
Even like 2.86, so EG5 is known as ERIS. This is classic compartmentalization where they've got an internal jargon, right? Even his posture that he's scratching his head, he's like, I can't deal with these idiots. They don't understand what I know. I've got secret special knowledge towards these terms that no one's understood, and I'm having to communicate it to the masses. Oh, it's stressful. Look,
2.86 is known as parola.
Parola.
Look at Eris and Parola.
We haven't. This outbreak's been predominantly Eris EG5. Right. So that's what
this is like. It's like an episode of The Office, except these are Nazis that have killed people in our country. This guy should be in prison today. He should be in custody. I will question him tomorrow. You know, that's how this should work. This is all over. You know, this is evidence towards an adaptation towards this type of thing. We need to get to work on this shit right now. This is all over. Like this is
what we're seeing in our wastewater, and that's what we're seeing in our genomic screening. People may be aware there is another, and there's been some reporting in the last 48 hours about a subvariant called JN1, and in the US, it's now rapidly becoming the most dominant variant. This is a subvariant of the 2.86.
Right.
So you've got to remember that what they're talking about is people with their eyes on microscopes looking supposedly at microbiology, at mutations and things like that, and then creating a narrative that is then being distributed through a closed distribution system by paid government fucking staff using lingo and jargon of what they're doing. This is exactly the same as what the Space Administration did with space. Except it's the miniature. So we have people looking through telescopes out in the sky and telling us stories about that. And now we have people looking in microscopes and telling us fantasy fiction about that. Now, it doesn't matter whether all of the things they're saying is true, although I highly assume that a whole lot of it is just presumption. But it doesn't matter if every single thing they said is true. Right? This is terrorism. This is like like this pen is surrounded by bacteria. If I start looking at this through a microscope, creating jargon, telling a fairy tale about what's on this pen, distributing that through a closed network of administrators paid by the government, with the end result of putting a needle in someone's arm continuously on a loop, that's what this has proven, right? All it takes is, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. All it takes is a terror group to subsidize or to exchange the shipment of vaccines with poison. A long activating poison that takes, a year or two to fucking activate. And then everyone's dead. Everyone's dead because they're watching Play School about fucking people making up fairy tales about what's on a pen that we've been fucking dealing with for millions of years. And this is the same thing that the space people are doing. They're like, there's asteroids that are going to land on us. Trust me, I'm in the glass industry. We've got to stop looking through fucking glass and making up fairy tales. We've got to stop doing it. We've got to stop allowing these administration fucking groups, these global administrators, from doing this. It's a fucking grift, the whole thing. Every single one of these people, they're paid to do this, yet they actively have pushed one side of the entire conversation off the fucking table. Completely off the table. You know, they're building these things. Like, this has 787 views. This person was under the command. He was the most responsible person, bar the premiers, that led to this. 787 views. And you could say, well, Shannon, you've got no views. And I'm like, yeah, I know, because they got together and said, he's not allowed to have any views. I used to always, I'd have all types of views. I'd have old ladies that would chat me up. I'd have gays that would chat me up. I'd have musicians that would listen to my shit. I'd have randoms, all these things. Now the only thing I get is these generic fucking trolls once a week that come and give me shit selectively about my actual life. So they have a file of my actual life. So it's like, even if think about it, like, that is a concentration camp already. I'm in a Robertson Skinner concentration camp trying to document the downfall of the fucking global Nazi party. And it's like, this is stored here, it's stored on YouTube. It's got to be stored somewhere. There's got to be a moment where someone goes, holy shit. Holy shit. You know, it's like, when the fuck? You don't have any answers. You're working for the government. You're in someone else's country. You're relying on a fucking digital death casino that is keeping everybody fucking stimulated and terrified. And you're just sitting there drinking coffee and paying your fucking superannuation. You know, buying your cat food, buying some shortbread biscuits to have with your little ladies' lunch on the fucking weekend.
We haven't seen it in WA as of yet, but certainly Victoria has, and they're describing it in their wastewater. Right. And it seems to be increasing. Again, it doesn't appear to produce more severe disease, but it's obviously has.
This is like, so what you need to understand, I'm going to end here because otherwise this could go on forever. But basically what this group of individuals is doing is the exact same strategy that there was a group of filmmakers. If anyone remembers the movie Milo and Otis, that's what they're doing. They're watching people and numbers, but an entirely massive. And it's like, the problem is, we probably need to keep an eye on certain things. But this is like the frenzy. It's like, this was where it's like the fire drill. But rather than an internal corporate, which is what these are, they're corporate administrators, rather than an internal corporate, they externally stimulated this protocol. And the problem is, if we get down to a paradigm of Australia, this is where this stupid Scottish colonizer fucking steps in. It's like, well, it's not just Aboriginal people who were out in the bush who didn't have communication. That's the majority of Australian history. So you couldn't have done this. So the first moment you could have done this, you did it, and you put poison in people's arms. And you basically claimed that because I don't fucking question it. Like, what if I was in the bush for 3 years of COVID and rocked up and I go, what are you all doing? What the fuck are you all doing? Oh, there's this. I'm like, nah, bullshit. What the fuck's going on? I've been out in the bush. Nothing's wrong with anyone. This is the thing. It's like there is an assumption that we are all in this thing together. And I think that's the frenzy. That's what stimulated the totalitarian frenzy of these administrators. It's like, they're like, we've got control of everybody. I'm like Lady Gaga. I've got the entire attention of the entire people. This is my moment. This is what I've rehearsed for. This all my dress rehearsal. This is it. And they're basically like, this is an imitation of a television fucking interview between a scientist and like a daytime thing, being paid for in a fantasy like science fiction death horror movie, all funded by the government. And this is where it's like, I had my children's mother declare that I was delusional and that I live in a fantasy or a fairy tale. And it's like, yet I'm supposed to respect the authority that her new husband is a white knight, AFL legend who has swooped in, is single-handedly raising 2 families and protecting his new wife from a insane fucking violent fucking whatever. Because they got fat. This is what you built. It is all fantasy. It is a socialist fantasy. The reason there are no movies being made in that cinema, in that film studio, is because this is the movie. This is the movie that we're making.
It's becoming a dominant strain, right? Or has certainly in the US.
Yeah.
Even that has become a dominant strain, certainly in the US. Like I have a transmission device from the US. This is what they did with space. This is what NASA did. Or we're watching Sputnik, or we're watching fucking whoever, Neil Armstrong. It's all a telephone scam. Every single bit of it. This is a telephone. I'm talking to you via a telephone. This was all predicted. This is the Nigerian prince COVID-19 fucking mass fucking lethal injection genocide administration fucking UK socialists what was I saying? The fucking UK socialist pantomime, fantasy fiction, science fiction, cosplay society.
We do continue to monitor in our hospital. We do test people in our hospitals with PCR and rapid.
Even notice how see this? I do this all the time. See that mannerism? Like, oh yes, I'm a good girl. aren't I? I'm taking Scottish notes on my bit of paper. Sorry, that's Welsh, but you know what I mean?
Mention testing, and a significant percentage of those go for whole genome sequencing. So we do track what the variants are, both within our hospital settings and then outdoor.
And then this just basically, this bleeds out into the society, and politeness is what keeps all of it in check. So many people are being managed by these HR administrative staff in every corporation because the corporation's got so big, and there's so many employment things. Everyone's afraid to speak up in any type of corporate environment, so they're just nodding, they're just well-wishing in a positivity. This couldn't possibly end up wrong. We couldn't possibly be exposed in a multi-year fucking exposure of genocide and fucking complete negligence, in a newly created film studio by a fucking very dedicated fucking defensive agent. No, we're on the in. We're on the inside.
Restricted hospital, but also in our wastewater as well.
Yeah. And so when you talked about the weekly surveillance report, and you talk about 501 cases, there was a few questions, as you'll have seen, about when previously people were required to report
Yes.
positive PCR, or PCRs were being recorded and rats were required to.
But basically, the story is, if you've come here from the United Kingdom, whether it's Scotland, Northern Ireland, Wales, or fucking England, you reside majoritively in an air-conditioned office, and you participate in this type of fucking pantomime cosplay. You have no authority to speak on behalf of anyone who's Australian, especially the Aboriginal people. You have no authority. We are going to push you into fucking urban zones. We are going to remunerate your little socialist fucking remuneration strategies, and we are going to fucking basically watch as you finally become Australian. End of story. Everything in this country has been trying to kill us for the entire time that we've been here. Everything in this country has been trying to kill the Aboriginal people since we've been here. And now we can add a delinquent, retarded Scottish administrator and a fucking disgusting, fucking bureaucratic, Nazi fucking SS agent to the list of things that have tried to kill Australian people. At least a redback gives you an indication. It has a red back. At least a snake, it's got big teeth. You know? You should now understand that, like, sharks, snakes, jellyfish, stonefish, spiders, and socialists. We can now add socialists. And by far, the top of the list, socialists. The most dangerous fucking animal in Australia.